welcome to episode 6 of the Lumi Knits podcast. I'm coming to you from central Victoria in Australia, where we've really hit winter. It's chilly out there, but luckily the sun's out today and it's a beautiful day. So my husband's taking the kids for a walk up in the bush and I've got a bit of a chance to sit down and have a chat with you. It's been a few weeks since my last podcast. We've been sick again. My kids have had a stomach bug, so I've been doing laundry fairly constantly for the past 5 days, and because it's cold it's a bit tricky to get it dry, so I've been having just towels hanging everywhere, which is no fun. We've also had a snap lockdown for a week, which didn't affect us too much, but I did keep the children home from kinder just to see what was happening. They weren't that well anyway. We just had a really nice family time at home until the lockdown lifted, and we actually still haven't really been going anywhere or doing a whole lot. What else? Well, when the kids don't go to kinder, I don't get to work. I work from home, and when I don't get to work during the day, I have to work at night, which means I don't get a whole lot of time for doing the things I like to do. So I haven't got a whole lot to show you today, but I do have a couple of things to talk about. If you want to find me on Instagram, you can find me at lumi.knits or on Ravelry at Lumi Knits X, all lowercase. Thanks to all the people who've commented on my videos. I've got an actual viewer question that I'm going to answer a bit later on from Kjerstin in Germany. So huge thanks to the people that like and comment and subscribe. It means a lot to me. It means I'm not just sitting here talking to my phone. So I'll jump straight in. I have no finished objects. I was hoping that I'd have at least one. I was hoping I would finish my Felix cardigan, but that is still up behind me. I've started on the second sleeve, but not gotten too far with that. My Thunder and Lightning socks are still ticking away. I've finished turning the heel on all of them, and I'm onto the decreases. That's the wrong bag. I'm onto the decreases with those. So I've got this pair that I've just started decreasing, and this sock where I think I'm about halfway through. But they're coming up really beautifully. I love this colour yarn and I really love the pattern. It's just, they're a real joy to work with, and I knit these if I'm out and about. My daughter has her dance lessons and my son and I have to sit in the car, so I work on these. He reads books and plays games and has a generally lovely time, so we're both happy. So they were my Thunder and Lightning socks by Henderson for Fancy Tiger Craft. My Samen shawl has gone not very far at all because it's getting kind of bulky now. It's a bit less easy to work with. I think I'm going to have to put another cable on to make it a bit longer. I picked up my Penguono and did a little bit of work on that, so I'm slowly working my way through a sleeve, which is exciting. I'll probably try and show that once I've got the other sleeve done, so I can sort of put it on and you can see the true magnificence of this garment, because it's big but it's going to be so warm and cozy, and I think it's going to have a really special place in my wardrobe. I have a new cast on. I know I said that I wasn't going to do gift knits anymore, but it's my best friend's 40th birthday this year. We've been friends since I was 3, and I really wanted to do something special for her birthday. I had planned on taking her to the observatory here and going out for dinner or something like that, but with COVID and restrictions and snap lockdowns, I don't like cancelling things, so I'm just really not planning anything too far ahead. So in the vein of space and universe and things like that, she really loves space, and she's got a telescope and she's always looking at the moon. And I was going through my yarn stash and I found a beautiful skein of Malabrigo sock yarn in a sort of purpley grey, and it's just gorgeous, and it really reminded me of space, which reminded me of her. So I thought, what can I do with one skein? And I had a look through and I came across this beautiful lace shawl / scarf by Locatelli called the Venezia. I've written it down phonetically, so I'm just going to have a peep. Venezia. It's the Venezia shawl by Locatelli. So I cast that on and I've been chipping away at it. I really like this pattern in that I like the shape of it. It's not a shawl like a huge triangle like a lot of the ones you see. It's kind of like two small triangles, long thin triangles that join in the middle. It's got lace work, it's got ribbing, and it's just coming up really nicely. At first I was a bit concerned because it's a bit gappy and just it looks kind of sloppy, but I had to look through a lot of project photos and I think that's how it looks before it blocks. So I'm hoping that some blocking will settle it down. But even if it doesn't, like I said, the colour is just stunning. So I'm going to show it to you. I've got a fairly elaborate camera set up today. I've put a mirror behind the phone so I can see what you're seeing. So that's a bit fancy. I'm going to just scoot in and show you where I'm at. So it's got the ribbing down the middle, which I really like. It's a twisted rib. And then it's got this diamond lace pattern coming all the way down into the little tail at the end. And I'm hoping I have enough to make a couple of tassels to go on either end because I think they'll look really cute. I don't know how far through I am. I'm guessing probably about 1/10. I haven't weighed my skein to see how far I've gotten. I'm just kind of picking it up where I can. It does require a little bit more concentration than most patterns I work on because I've got to read the chart all the time, but it's no problem. I just kind of pick it up, do a bit, put it down, pick it up, do a bit, put it down. And because at the moment the rows are quite short, that's the front. Because at the moment the rows are quite short and I'm getting used to the pattern for the lace and for the ribbing, it doesn't require that much mental energy, and I think as it goes on it'll get easier and easier. So really enjoying that. It's a nice pattern, it's well written, love the yarn. It's a real pleasure, that one. So I'll leave it there. I think I've already talked about Felix. Yes, I've talked about Penguono. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting, but anyway, I'll leave it there. Oh, yes, there is. The sewing. I have been doing a tiny bit of sewing, not a lot at all. I've cut out another pair of Otis overalls. I think I mentioned in my previous podcast that I wanted to do that. I've bought this mustard coloured cord with a white floral pattern here. And this is just one of the shoulder straps. I haven't gotten very far on this at all. Like I said, if the kids don't go to kinder, I don't get to work in the day. If I don't get to work in the day, I have to work at night. So my nights are pretty much out. So I've done the shoulder straps, the pockets, the waist ties, and I'm just about to attach the pockets onto the pant legs. So there's a lot of flat felling in my future, which is okay. I don't have a problem with flat felling. It's pretty fun. So that's what's going on with the sewing. If you've seen the last episode, you'll know that I've been waiting anxiously for the next issue of Pom Pom magazine to come out because there's a pattern in there that I've fallen head over heels in love with, and it's called the Lodestar. Well, it came out and I had a look at the patterns that were in there, and there was about 3 or 4 patterns in there that I just loved. Not as much as the Lodestar, but I just went wow, and I decided that it would be a good investment on my part if I purchased the digital copy of the magazine. So I did that, and Lodestar will be my main focus, but there's also some beautiful colourwork socks in there that I'm really anxious to try. I can't remember what they're called, what the name of that pattern is. There's another jumper that I really liked, and the shawl is gorgeous too. So really looking forward to getting started on the Lodestar. I have bought yarn for it, which is fairly uncommon. When I purchased my Tecumseh yarn from Bendigo Woollen Mills, that's this one, this one, and this one, it took a really long time to arrive. And I don't like ragging out on companies because I know that everyone's doing their best. And with COVID, things are hard. But this took like a ridiculous amount of time to arrive. But the great thing about Bendigo Woollen Mills, and I really respect and appreciate this, is that they recognised that it was a ridiculous amount of time to wait. So when my order arrived, they also put in a $20 coupon for their shop, which I spent immediately on my yarn for my Lodestar. So I'm going to show it to you. It is a 50% bamboo, 50% wool, 8 ply DK weight, and it's in the colorway Sage, and it is beautiful. I was a little bit worried when I purchased this because I don't have the shade card. I didn't know how it felt. I didn't know if it was true to the colour on the screen, so it was a bit of a gamble. But with the special that they had on this, I think it was like $13.50 for a 400 metre ball, 200 gram ball. And then the coupon on top of that, it came down to about $30, which is really great to think that I've got a sweater weight, a sweater's quantity of beautiful yarn is pretty good. So I took the risk and I'm really glad I did. I've used some of their yarn before that's got a bamboo element, but not a 50% bamboo, so I was a little bit nervous, but it feels so nice. I'm just sitting here rubbing it. It feels really soft and smooth. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, but it's not like gaudy or anything like that. And the colour is just, I think it's going to look so nice for the Lodestar pattern. So all my other things in my queue have been pushed to the back. Tecumseh is at the back. Everything's at the back until I get going on this. I was in two minds about doing a swatch, but I think I'm going to do a hat. The reason is because the size that I'm knitting requires, I think, 1280 meters, and I've got 4 of these balls at 400 meters per ball, which gives me 1600 meters, so there's plenty there. I'm also thinking I may lengthen the arms a little longer than the pattern outlines, but anyway, so I think I'll swatch with a hat. I keep saying I'm going to do that, and I haven't done it for anything yet, so we'll see. We'll see if I'm going to be deluding myself or not. Anyway, so that was my chair. It's so squeaky. I'm waiting for next financial year to buy a new chair because this one is really, I get a sore back from sitting on it, and it's my work chair. It hurts my back. It squeaks. Can you hear it? Oh, that's so bad. Anyway, I'm waiting patiently for the 1st of July so I can go out and buy a new chair and claim it on my tax for next year. Oh, I'm sorry. I spend most of my time with a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and that kind of noise would send them right off. So I'm just going to have to calm myself down a little bit. Oh, okay. I'm going to get it together. As I said in the intro, I had a viewer question from Kjerstin in Germany, and she was wanting to know a little bit about my knitting journey, how I got started, and that kind of thing. So it's kind of like a life story, but I won't make it that long. My grandmother and my mum are both crocheters. My grandma knits as well, so it's always been a part of my life, and I've always crocheted. When I was in about grade 3, I think the Country Women's Association had a partnership with Woolmark, which is our Australian wool promotional body, and they came out to primary schools in rural areas and taught the kids to knit. So we had, I think, 7 children in my year level, and these lovely, kind, patient women turned up with these brown paper bags that had yarn and a pattern and a set of knitting needles. I remember it like distinctly, which is pretty amazing because I don't remember much. My memory is terrible, but I remember this. And these ladies came, I think, once a fortnight and taught us to knit, and we'd work on our little beanies that we were knitting, and it was really nice. And that was how I originally learned to knit and to purl. So that was the basis of my education. I never finished that beanie. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know where it went. It was red, I know that much, and it was wool, and it was beautiful, and I loved it, but it didn't get finished, and I have no idea what actually happened to it in the end. And after that, I don't think I picked up a pair of knitting needles until after I had my son. And for some reason or another, I was at an op shop and I saw the jar of knitting needles that is at every op shop in Australia, and I thought, I'm going to buy some knitting needles. So I bought a pair of knitting needles, and I found a ball of bamboo yarn in the same op shop, and I just knit garter stitch because that's all I knew. I didn't even really remember how to cast on But I managed, and I just knit back and forth for a while, went nowhere with it, but just found myself really enjoying it much more than I enjoyed crochet. And I thought, I'd really like to knit a pair of socks. So I got it in my head that I was going to knit socks. So I looked it up on YouTube, and there was DPNs, and they scared the absolute life out of me, and they still do. I can't cope with DPNs. I do if I have to, but it's not my preferred method of work. And then I came across a lovely lady, her channel's called Simply in Stitches, and she did a series of tutorials on how to knit a sock on a 9-inch circular needle. She adapted a pattern, a vanilla sock pattern from DPNs to 9-inch circulars, and she taught how to do it in this tutorial. So I followed her religiously. I ordered the needle. I just had started with one. I ordered the needle. I used some of the DK weight yarn that I had lying around. I have big feet, so I knit the largest size in the pattern, which I think was casting on 72 stitches. And my first sock ended up being like a Christmas stocking. It was huge. It was too big for anyone I'd ever met, because I used DK weight on the fingering weight pattern, and I had no idea what I was doing. I made so many mistakes, and I had to pull it out so many times, but I loved it. I loved the process, and at the end of it, even though it was a sock for a giant, it was a sock, and I made it, and I felt amazing. I felt like I could do anything, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So after that, I went, well, hold on a minute. I can't knit DK weight on these needles, and I can't knit a fingering weight pattern with DK weight and expect it to come in up the same. So I just started learning, and I learned, and now I'm at the point that I'm at today, which is I can almost capably knit a pair of socks and have them come out human sized. So that's pretty great. Knitting is a really important part of my life now. I use it to keep me stable. It's an anchor for me. It's something that I always come back to, and it's something that if I'm feeling bad or sad or just not feeling right, I can always come back to this thing that soothes me and makes me feel grounded, I suppose. So it's very important to me. After my son was born, I was diagnosed with postnatal depression and anxiety, and knitting has been a really important part of learning how to live my life with those two things in it. And it's still really important to me to be in a good place mentally. I need to be knitting at some point in my day, most days. And if I don't get to knit, I just feel a bit fraught, a little bit at sea, I suppose. So yeah, knitting's very, very important to me, and it's something that I feel is really good for me. It gives me a real sense of achievement, a sense of pride, and I just really love doing it. I love learning new things, so I'm always pushing myself a little bit further, trying to do things I haven't done before. And the great thing about knitting is I can have 10 whips, and each one of them is for a different purpose. I've got ones that are soothing. I've got ones that I can go to when I want a challenge. I can do ones where I'm thinking of someone else while I'm doing it. And yeah, it's a whip for all seasons around here. So I hope that answers your question, Kjerstin. In terms of how I knit, I know that there's two ways to knit, and one's continental and one's the other way. I don't know which is which. I've never really learned about that, but essentially I hold my yarn in my right hand, I loop it around my little finger, and I use my right index finger, pointer finger, to wrap the yarn around, and my left hand just kind of hangs out with the other needle, keeping things in place. If someone wants to tell me what that style of knitting is called, if you can understand my gibberish, you're more than welcome to let me know in the comments. But that's how I knit. I've tried looking at speed knitting and things like that, where you do this crazy thing with your finger, but I don't really care if I go fast or not anymore. I used to, but I don't really care anymore. It's more process for me now than product, and that's how I knit. I just knit and knit and knit and knit some more, and then I make you a video. So I think I might leave it there. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing today, I hope that you're having a lovely time doing it, and I hope you're staying well and safe and happy, and looking forward to catching up with you next time. Bye.